Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about a lot of Italian products in this country, and we talked about coffee and pasta and food. Now, let us turn to our guest, Francesca Marchese. You also worked as a journalist tutor.
Yeah.
What was your job? What were you teaching?
Well, in that occasion was, in two occasions, I was the tutor of two classrooms of Italian students from southern Italy. They were participating to an European project that has the aim to let them have experience of working abroad. So they wanted to understand how journalism is different from Italy to London. So we went to the BBC, we had meetings with the National Union of Journalists. They experienced how to be a reporter in this country.
Right.
So it was interesting for them, and they had a lot of fun and they learned so much. So we are still in touch with them. So it was really a good experience.
You have lived in this country for 3 years as a journalist, isn't it?
Yes.
See? So could you describe the life of a foreign journalist in London?
Well, it's quite hard, I must say, because of course there are a lot of new things. Of course, London is a fantastic city full of resources, but on the other hand, I think there are so many stories that have to be told, because sometimes we want always to emphasize how fantastic is this city. But I strongly believe that a lot of people are facing difficulties on establish themselves in a big city like London. So I believe there is space for new stories about that.
Is it because they don't have the context?
Well, first of all, because even if we are in Europe and proudly in Europe, and I mean,
I don't know for how long.
we will see. I really hope that we will stay in Europe. But anyway, I think that it is not easy also for young generation. Of course, social media plays a big role on that to keep people together. But I believe that there are so many difficulties sometimes for people because of the increase of prices in London for houses, for example, and also finding a job is not so simple as as previously. So, I mean, I believe that it's very good to tell good stories about successful people. But in the other hand, so many people are struggling.
Yes,
so
for one successful person, or a journalist, or an actor, or a businessman, there are a million unsuccessful stories.
Yeah, I believe so, and they need to have a voice. So our work is to give them a voice.
Right. You mentioned social media, and you have mentioned somewhere that you're a social media curator. What does that involve?
Well, in my case, I try to inform people using social media. Sometimes social media in this country are like marketing activities to sell things. I believe that social media are very important also to inform people and to let people create their own opinion about facts. So what I've done in social media, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, is to help this process and to use them in the best way possible. That's basically
social media. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You wanted to talk about Italian Kingdom and Etna Coffee and Italian farmers. These organizations?
Well, they are all companies that, in my opinion, can tell more about the young influx of Italian people. For example, Italian Farmers, it's a very tiny shop in Finsbury Park, and they sell only products that come from little business in Italy. So they are not big names, they are only little
small
things.
Business houses.
Yeah, it's like going to a farmer's market and then, I mean, and find things that are not have a great advertise. So I think it's something important. And then of course Etna Coffee, because of the Sicilian food street tradition. There is also CV Coffee, for example, that is a company that helps people develop skills and CV. And the Italian community, that is a directory of Italian professionals in London. So Italian Kingdom as well as a radio that works very well. So I mean the Italian community.
Is it a 24-hour radio?
No, they have different programmers. The most popular one is on Saturday. Also, they are doing a very interesting program about is like a visual storytelling about young Italians. So there is a lot of going on. So I believe that the Italian community is growing very well.
Right. I was researching on your good work, and I found that you are also a photographer.
Well, I enjoy myself. I enjoy taking pictures.
The pregnancy photos and the children and different holidays and all that.
Well, you are right, because there is another Francesca Marchese that is a professional photographer.
That's not you.
It's not me. I really enjoy taking pictures.
Exactly the same name.
Yeah, it's exactly the same name, and there is also a Francesca Marchese in London as well. So, I mean, looking for me on Twitter, be sure that it's me. It's quite a popular name.
It should be Francesca Marchese Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3.
Yeah, usually it's a Francesca Marchese journalist, so it's the only way for people to recognize me.
But your photographs are mainly news story based, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I try to have a visual angle of what is happening, also because I work mainly online and in television, so the best way to express things is through images. That's basically that.
You have described yourself as a journalist that has been involved in breaking news, culture, cinema, and technology. Have you ever been that lucky to make a scoop, a story that was not reported anywhere but picked up by you, or the breaking news?
Well, working for the regional television Telecolor happens to me to interview the father of a young student at university in Catania that sadly died because of disease. And the accusation is that the disease was provoked at university. So it was a big story about and with a process involved the university, and also, I mean, very, very big story. In that case, it happens to me to make this interview and to submit this interview to the Ilaria Alpi Prize. I didn't win, but I arrived at the...
That was a video, isn't it?
Yes, it was a video. But I must say, it was very important to tell the story of this father and this is a son. I mean, was that one that was the main one. So in other things, I mean, we always try to tell stories that are not told yet.
Yes.
So
I had a very prominent journalist from BBC, Mark Turley, Sir Mark Turley. He was sitting here, and he said something very interesting, that the stories that we tell the others, the world, report to the world, they're not our stories. We get the stories from people, see.
Yeah.
We are only passing it to the people again. See.
yes.
So we are not the heroes are the people who provide us their stories. Because when we go to the beat, we go to a place and we try to talk to 10 persons, and then we come up with their versions of the incident, see. And everybody has got his own version of the same thing. 10 persons see the same accident, they come out with different versions. See?
Yeah, it's true.
And when we report it, people think that it's ours. It is not ours, it is theirs. And I think this is a very honest statement. See?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, at the moment, for example, I must say that there is a huge group of Italian journalists. They try to be together online on a Facebook page that is called Giornalisti Italiani a Londra.
Right.
And I mean, we reflect about our role in the society as a young journalist from Italy in this country. I think it's an interesting debate, by the way, and also how we perceive news and what deserves as a journalist, what not. There are stories that need to be told.
As a journalist, what disturbs you most in any country, like back in Italy or in this country? What disturbs you most?
Well, when someone tries to use news for his own purpose, I think that is the most disturbing thing.
Sometimes the news is made rather than it happens.
Yeah, but I believe that, of course, I mean, talking about ethical stuff, it's very important to, for example, tell the story as it happened and not keep until it's useful.
Right.
So that is really prominent on that.
There is always a sell-by date for the news too, like all the product to see. How much independent are the newspapers in Italy or Sicily?
Well, this is we can talk hours about that. So I believe that Italian media has to learn a lot from the British example.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course,
in what way?
Well, there are very good examples of good journalism in Italy, but of course, our recent history with Berlusconi, or in Sicily, we have also our Sicilian Berlusconi. I mean, there are so many stories.
He's not from Sicily, is he?
No, Berlusconi is from northern Italy, from Milan. So, but I mean, he was so famous, and his activity, I believe, that has an impact on a young generation of Italians now. Right.
And also on the fate of football and FIFA.
Of course, I mean, he was excellent in some areas of his activity. So, I mean, he was a great entrepreneur. Yep. But I must say that I do not personally admire him.
Right. Right. There are a lot of people who with their own choices. But what he did for football was remarkable, and FIFA was remarkable, but for so many years. But, well, finally, everything comes down, and so did he. When Italy plays, do you support Italy, or would you reserve your support for, wait for Sicily to play?
Well, Sicily has not his own football team, has his own parliament, for example, but not the football team. So, to be honest, I feel very, very much Londoner Sicilian. So, of course, my love through Italy, towards Italy is great, but if I have to recognize myself, I say that I'm Sicilian.
Right.
Yeah.
How would you describe British journalism? In one sentence.
Oh, wow. British journalism, in one word.
In one sentence.
In one sentence. I think that British journalism at the moment serves the community as at its best. Of course, there are so many things to be improved, but I believe that the future of journalism is the community journalism, and British media has a great opportunity to grow in this sense. So this is the most prominent thing, in my opinion.
Francesca, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you, Viet, for being with us, and I hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as we have. And it was a pleasure hosting Francesca Marchese, and we hope to meet you again sometime next week with another distinguished guest. In the meantime, take care.